Let's try another example. Okay, we want to find, let's see, the problem is 0.03 is 1.2% of what number? 0.03 is 1.2% of what number? We want to identify the percent, the amount, the base and the amount. The percent, the base, and the amount. We usually do the base first because it's easier to identify. The percent is, again, obvious, 1.2. We use that value, 1.2. The base is what we're taking the percent of. We're taking 1.2% of what? So that means our base must be our unknown x. And that leaves us as 0.03 as our amount. Okay, 0.03 must be our amount. So our formula, again, our percent proportion is amount over base is equal to the percent over 100. So we get 0.03 over x is equal to the percent 1.2 over 100. Remember, the 100 always goes down here. Now, solve this proportion. Remember, we solve it by cross multiplying. So we get 0.03 times 100 is equal to 1.2 times x. Now 0.03 times 100 is, let's see, that must be 3, is equal to 1.2x. To find x, we divide by the number that's with it. So we divide both sides by 1.2. And 3 divided by 1.2 is going to be 2.5. 3 divided by 1.2 is 2.5. So that means the base must have been 2.5. That's what we were looking for. That was the unknown we were looking for. Again, identify your percent, your base, and your amount. Substitute it into your formula. And then solve the proportion the way we've always solved the proportion. Okay, let's look at example 5. Example 5 says, what is 1/4% of 5? What is 1/4% of 5? So we again want to identify the percent, the base, and the amount. Okay, the percent, of course, it's with the percent symbol, so it must be 1/4. The base, what are we taking the percent of? What are we taking the percent of? The percent of 5. So the base must be 5, which means the amount must be what we're looking for. The amount must be what we're looking for. So let's see, that gives us percent, let's see, amount over base is equal to the percent over 100. So it gives us x over 5 is equal to 1/4 over 100. Cross multiply says I'm going to multiply 5 times 1/4 is equal to 100 times x. Now 5 times 1/4, let's see, we can put that over 1, that gives us 5/4 is equal to 100x. And let's see, divide both sides by 100, then that says I want 5/4. Let's see if we can do this. We want 5/4 divided by 100, put that over 1, gives me 5/4 times the reciprocal 1 over 100, which is 5 over 400, which is 5 over 400. So that says x is going to be 5 over 400. So our amount is going to be 5 over 400. If we wanted to change that to decimal form, we can divide divide 5 by 400, and we get 0.0125. So this is the fractional form, this is the decimal form. Both of those are acceptable. Both of those are acceptable. Either one is a correct answer. Okay, any questions? Okay, I've got one more example before I give you some practice problems. I've got one more example before the practice problems. Okay, the last example is I want to know 49 is 87.5% of what number? 49 is 87.5% of what number? So I need to identify my percent, my base, and my amount. Okay, percent, again, is fairly obvious. It's 87.5. The base, the percent of what? Okay, we're taking the percent of what? That means my base must be X, which leaves 49 to be the amount. That says amount over base equals the percent over 100. That's the percent formula we need to know. So we substitute the values in. 49 over the base X is equal to the percent 87.5 divide over 100. We want to cross multiply, so we get 49 times 100 is equal to 87.5 times X. Now what we could do to 87.5 is change that to a decimal. In other words, 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. So when we do this, we could get 4,900 is equal to 87.5x. In other words, we could change this into this form right there. Those are equivalent. Now, divide both sides by 87.5. And on our calculator, we get 4,900 divide by 87.5. And we should come up with an answer of 56. X turns out to be 56. So the base we were looking for is 56. The base we were looking for was 56. Okay, we could have left this as a fraction and divided both sides by 87.5. And remember, in order to divide fractions, then you would have needed to change this to an improper fraction. You can change 87.5 to an improper fraction and then divide by multiplying by the reciprocal, and you would still come up with the same answer. So it doesn't matter whether you change this to a decimal or leave it as a fraction, the solution will come out the same if you do the arithmetic with your numbers correctly. You remember, we identify the percent, the base, and the amount, substitute it into our percent proportion, solve the proportion will give us the answer we're looking for. Okay, now it's time to try some practice problems. Now we want to try some practice problems. So here's our practice problems. Okay, the first practice problem, and that's a 0.8, so we can write that 0.8 if you want. 0.8% of 9,000 is what number? 0.8% of 9,000 is what number? The second problem is 75 is what percent of 600? 75 is what percent of 600? The third practice problem is what is 16 2/3% of 36? What is 16 2/3% of 36? Now you'll find out in this problem that you're not going to be able to change 2/3 to a decimal without approximating, and you cannot approximate. So you're going to have to be able to work with fractions on this one. What is 16 2/3% of 36? The last practice problem, number 4, says 53 is 0.2% of what number? And we can put a 0 there if you want. 53 is 0.2% of what number? Okay, now I want you to stop the tape, work these problems. If you get stuck, make sure you go and ask someone to help. The math tutor and the math instructor are there. That's what they're there for. So if you have questions, make sure you go and ask. And when you finish, then come back and check to see if your answers match. Okay, on this problem, the answers are, number 1 is 72, number 2 is 12.5%, or 12.5%, either would be acceptable. 3 is 6, and 4 is 26,500. If you had problems, go back and check your arithmetic, or get a math tutor or lab instructor to help you. They'll be glad to help in any way they can. Okay, at this point, we should know how to solve problems involving percents. We should be able to do number problems using the percent formula. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask a math tutor or a lab instructor. They'll be more than glad to help you in any way they can. This ends this tape.